right, something else I want to mention when you're staining the deck. You know, and I know this isn't rocket science, but I'm sure you've done some painting before. When you get your excess stain out of your brush, let me just tell you what a really major mistake a lot of people make. And it's a very minor detail, but it really makes a difference. You know, don't be afraid to get in here and slop it all in. You can get messy with it, if I can put it that way. You know, as long as you're not getting it on the house. Okay, but what I see a lot of people do, especially homeowners, is they'll go thick. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but it's actually starting to run. Runs and drips are two of the biggest no-nos in deck restoration. If you get a little puddling down here, you want to dab it out. So whenever you're going and you're doing rails and spindles, you know, verticals especially, always go back and check your work and make sure you get all the runs and the drips out of there, because what happens when those runs and those drips dry, they'll actually become more of a permanent part of the structure. I'll show you what I mean. I didn't do this job last time. The customer did it. And you can see on the deck, these are drip marks from whoever stained the deck last. And when we came back and power washed that, those would not come out. It's just excess stain, and they generally don't strip off. So you always want to be aware of that and make sure you get your runs and your drips. No matter what kind of stain you're using or paint, that's a very crucial point, and it does make a difference in a professional job versus an amateur job. I see a lot of customers' decks where there's just drips and runs all over the place. Another thing to keep in mind is, you know, if you get stain in the house, stain in the house, keep a bottle of mineral spirits. Menards, you can usually get it the cheapest, about $7 for a gallon of mineral spirits, and just have a little spray bottle with you. And I always tell my guys, getting stain on the house is not the problem. Leaving it on the house is the problem. So you can see mineral spirits will, you know, cause it to disappear. So mineral spirits will save your butt. If you got that with you on a job site, you can just wipe it right off. Another thing about oil-based stains, if you're dealing with paraffinic oil stains, or what they call long oils, it's not as crucial. But with oil-based stains, right now I'm doing this entire railing section, outside, inside, and I'm hitting the skirt and I'm hitting the fascia as I go along. And then when I come on the inside, you'll notice we're doing the inside of the rails, but we are not doing the floor. And the reason for that is because if I was to do the floor and I was to leave a line, because this is what they call a drying oil, if I was to go and finish the rest of the deck and then come back to this later and then finish this, I would see a very distinct line. That's how you get lap marks. You don't normally see lap marks when you're dealing with water-based products, although it can happen, especially if you're using a product that's a self-primer and it has an oil and a water polymer mixed. So, if you do have to get stain on something, I always recommend doing the whole board. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to cut this in probably 2 or 3 boards out, and we'll work the entire length of the board. Then we'll go back and we'll address the rest of the deck. But if you're in a situation where you need, or you get stain on, or you spill it, the best way to resolve that, to reduce lap marks, is go ahead and work it in the deck and then feather it out. And feather it out at different rates. So you kind of get more of a gradient look. So you do not have a distinct line going through there. This one's kind of coming out to here, this one's stopping here, and you feather it. And you use that gradient. So then when I come in and I finish it, I can gradient back in, and it's going to blend back in, and I can greatly reduce lap marks by doing it that way. And, you know, certain stains you don't have to worry about that, but if you're using an oil-based product, that's especially something you want to make sure you do not do, is do not leave a line going across. I see that a lot, especially on decks or on fences. People will roll the fence, say halfway up all the way down, then they'll come back and they'll roll the top half, and everywhere where those roller marks meet, they got a really thick, gooey line of stain, and it looks ugly, and it don't come off very well. So that's something else to keep in mind.